10 years from that day, 2006, I'm coaching in the Final Four as a coach.
That's
And
wild.
and so, again, I would say for me, a lot of times, whenever there's tough moments in my world, which there are plenty, you sort of go back and you put yourself in the shoes of the 16-year-old walking around that lobby, and then you think to yourself, wow, like it's 20 years later or 25 years later, and I've lived a lot of the dreams that I had at that time.
Welcome to the top.
Oh, yeah.
We killing annual quotas. It's the 1% show, in case you haven't noticed.
Welcome to the top. I'm your host, Paul Salamanca, VP of Sales at Security Scorecard, co-founder of the Top 1%er. And with me, as usual, Tom Bocard, Senior VP of Sales at Global Data. And today we have another very special guest, Associate Head Basketball Coach for the University of Miami Hurricanes, Coach Chris Caputo. Coach Caputo has been named ESPN 40 Best Coaches Under 40. In his 10th season at Miami, he actually coached the Hurricanes to 6 postseason berths, which is awesome, 4 NCAA appearances, and 2 Sweet 16 nods. He coached the Hurricanes to 3 25-win seasons, achieving the national ranking as high as 2 at one point. So under coach's tutelage, Miami was one of just 2 ACC schools, along with Duke, to have a player selected in the NBA draft each year from 2016 to 2019. And what's really cool is prior to Miami, he also coached George Mason and played a major role in the run to the Final Four in 2006 that many of us remember. So as much as we love talking basketball and sports, first we'll get into how he got into his position, the mindset it takes to get into a job that everybody wants, but not too many people are qualified for.
In 1996, the Final Four was in New York. It was the last time they ever had a Final Four in a non-dome stadium. So it was at the Meadowlands, the old Brendan Byrne Arena from when we were kids. So people don't know, but when we have the Final Four in NCAA basketball, it's also the coaches convention. So, that weekend, wherever the Final Four is, you're also going to find, pretty much every coach in college basketball, whether it's, meetings that we're having, parties, people interviewing for jobs, networking type convention, right? So it's 1996. I'm 16. I'm like a sophomore in high school. My buddy Guy's a little bit older, and he's sort of, I think, getting ready to get into coaching, or just gotten like a high school coaching assistant's job. And he's been told, hey, look, like you need to go to the Hilton on 6th Avenue because that's where the headquarters for the convention are. And, you're going to go meet coaches, see coaches. That's sort of where you should go if you want to be in coaching. And he's like, do you want to tag along? And I'm like, I don't know any better. So yeah, sure, I'll go. So, we make the trek from Queens to Manhattan. It's not that far, but, we go into Hilton. And for me, being a huge college basketball fan at the time, as well as a high school basketball player, we go in that lobby and, I see Jerry Tarkanian sitting, like at the bar. And I see Mike Krzyzewski walking through the lobby. And I see a number of different other coaches, with their shirts on like I'm wearing now. And, other recognizable people, and it looked like there was a lot of energy in the room. And, I don't want to say that that's the moment I thought I wanted to coach, but I'd already kind of thought in terms of that, but also I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Like, these are all these people I've seen on television, and this is awesome. And I tell that story because 10 years from that day, 2006, I'm coaching in the Final Four as a coach. And so, again, I would say for me, a lot of times, whenever there's tough moments in my world, which there are plenty, you sort of go back and you put yourself in the shoes of the 16-year-old walking around that lobby, and then you think to yourself, wow, like it's 20 years later or 25 years later, and I've lived a lot of the dreams that I had at that time. Coach and I've been together 19 years, and this is going on 10 at Miami. So I've had an atypical career in coaching in that I haven't moved around a lot or changed jobs a lot. but also atypical in that I haven't been fired.
Yep.
And we've had a lot of, success. So been able to, it's hard to get in. And I think this is for everybody who's, doing things in a competitive environment. Like, it's hard to get in. It's harder to stay in.
Yep.
And it's about survival. It's about having, I've had a job for 19 years in this profession, and, that's more than most. And yet, you got to get, maybe I need like another 30 years of work. So, trying to do that is daunting when you think about it.
I love how you say that, because I think one of our shows we talked about, sometimes it's easier. It's not easy, but easier to get to the top, especially in sales, and
Right.
harder to stay there.
Yeah.
Because there's a tendency to kind of relax and not do the stuff that got you there, but now you have to reinvent yourself and keep finding little ways to get better, which becomes harder as you become better. I think to really, it's all about what you're chasing too, and I think everybody I've found in the business world are people who, they have different aspirations as to what level they can get to. Maybe just staying at their level is what's good for them. But I think if you aspire to really be at the top of your profession, to be a 1%er, as you guys say, like, you're really either getting better or you're getting worse. You're either, each day that goes by, you're going to have to find ways to continue to give yourself that edge. And that's hard. That's hard to do. As we say in the office all the time, like, hey, the other guys are trying to win too. Yep.
We've got great ideas, whatever, but like, it's not just about hard work. It's about competing. And those are two different things. Working hard is like, that's just to be in the game.
Table stakes.
Competing is a whole other different thing. And you're really only judged by competing. No one cares how hard you work. But in basketball, culture is a little funny. Like, this is a huge workout culture now in basketball. So, like, I don't know if you guys see, like, you probably see all these videos of guys and they're in the summer and they're working on their ball handling, they're working on their shooting, all that stuff. And it's great. There's great stuff. But understand, that's not how you're judged. This isn't figure skating. Like, you've got to, like, you're judged on how you affect winning. What things you do to add value to a winning organization. And they work together. You have to work hard. You have to work on your skills. But at the end of the day, it's about your competitive greatness and how you're helping your organization compete to win.
Yep.
And you're only judged on that. You're not judged on how you work on your skills. And I think sometimes people get that confused. I think the other thing about competing is I'm going off, but like, a great book to read, if any, I think it's one of the best, really. A lot of these sports motivation books I don't think are great, but I would say, hey, look, if you haven't read Pete Carroll's Win Forever, I think it's a great book. And the reason is, Pete Carroll got fired in New England, basically had a year off to basically write down everything he believed. And then see if he could, like, he didn't know what he believed because he was too busy doing the job.
Yep.
So once he got fired and he's sitting there and he's like, I need to figure out what it is I'm all about. And that sort of led to his success at USC and the Seattle Seahawks. But the biggest thing came from him was, hey, I'm all about competitiveness and being a competitor. But my definition of competition is maybe a little bit different than other people's. And his was trying to, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but trying to do things better today than they've ever been done before. And it's real simple, right? It's like, a lot of people think it's like me versus you, but it's really about me doing things and creating a standard and doing them better today than I did them yesterday.
Yep.
Can you continue to do that? And that's what competitiveness is. And a lot of people get competitive fatigue. They just can't do it. And especially in the sales world, right? I mean, it's because you're going to get said no to a lot more. And there's going to be daunting sort of, situations that you might look at and say, look, there's no way, or this deal is fixed or whatever. But, the competitiveness and the ability to keep coming back to try to get to a higher level, that's where you're going to be judged.
Love it, dude. So many parallels between that and sales. Yeah. It's just so unreal. In sales, you have to be creative. You have to endorse creativity, but at the same time, you find ways to get them better, and finding ways to communicate that sometimes is very, very tricky.
I think this, anytime you go through something really difficult, and that's not the only thing, but when you look back, if you can survive it, when you look back, you're always like, man, like how much better am I today?
No doubt.
Than I was when that first started.
No doubt.
Even if you're not viewed the same way, you know when you've been through it, it's not what happened. Getting through it has made you better. Sometimes society doesn't appreciate, like, I think hiring people who have been fired, if you can find that, the pain that they've had, but then also what they've been able to do to fix it, the reflection, and now they're like, I think those can be the best performers.
Wow. Love it. Coach, thank you so much for coming on. There's so many parallels. I could talk to you forever about it, and it's really interesting. So today we had the pleasure of understanding how Coach Caputo, a Division I coach, handles adversity and how we can apply those techniques in our own lives, whether it's personally or professionally. And what I love about this show is that we get to talk to so many successful people like you, Coach. And almost everyone has such a unique story, unique way of handling things and looking at success and adversity to make it to the top. And all these stories and tips are helping many create a top 1%er mentality. As a wise man Nas once said, why shoot the breeze about it when you could be about it?
Welcome to the top. Oh, yeah. We killing annual quotas. It's the 1%er show, in case you haven't noticed.